Are we on? Yeah, okay. All right. Quick as Debbie and Elaine finish. Pardon? This is where, this is the part where you be quiet. I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the chair I sit in. When you walk through Mary's and this chair is at the end of the table, this is my chair, and I sit in this chair. I can't do meetings in those.
Also said, it's too soft for my deaf ears.
Oh, is it? Okay. So, what do you think, Lawrence? Do I need to back up? No. Oh, Sylvia needs to back up. Then she can hear me. Yep. Sylvia needs to back up. If you can't hear me well, then Lawrence, they should move back a little bit. Okay. 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 All right. Okay. We're a minute after. So this is my grandson who, no. Stuart.
Today is
Stuart.
Grandparents' Day.
Is it? Okay. All right, Phyllis. I always do that. Sylvia, your time is up. Okay, time out. Yeah. So, yes. Comments from, yeah. I know what that means. Okay. All right. We're not recording yet, are we, Lawrence? Oh, dear. Okay, all right. So, welcome everybody. I'm so glad y'all have come today. I knew we wouldn't have like the full house like we do when we do cognitive impairment stuff. Somehow we're willing to step out and acknowledge some of that more than sometimes we do. As soon as we say grief, people kind of get, I don't know, is it scared? It's like, no, I don't want to talk about that. And that's one of the problems, is that we don't want to talk about it. But the idea for this today came quite a while back. Lawrence and I had this discussion about knowing how to talk to people who are experiencing grief. And part of that comes from understanding our own grief. And if you don't know what it is, then you won't be as good at helping somebody else deal with it. So, like Dan said today, he did a great job last night and today of saying how this group might be helpful to people. That when we think about grief and bereavement, we think about after someone has died. But that's the big one that everybody pays attention to. But there are all these back here, one after another, that come in. And I think he mentioned loss of a job. That's a huge one. Oh, and you know what? I've got a handout for y'all. And yeah, you take those and those. And I think, yeah, we've got enough. And so I just thought I would give you a little something to look at. So you'll have this to take home, and if you might want to make a note somewhere here or there on that. But so here's a whole list of kinds of losses that we often don't think about. We think about, when we think about grief and loss, we think about death, but here we are with these lists. So we're going to go over some of these, but just to show you, there are many ways that we grieve that we don't make that connection at all between the loss that we've had and the grief that comes with it. Joanne and Tom, let me give you a handout, and we'll get Betsy one. Here we go. Would you hand that back to him? You got it? Okay. Betsy, here's a handout for you. We're just getting started, y'all. So, yeah. So we're not actually going over this handout right now. I just want you to have it as we talk so that you can think about some of the ways, the things in our lives that bring up grief that we don't realize, we don't think about how much grief can be attached to some of these things. And it's the very same grief that's attached to the loss of a loved one. You go through the very same things. Most of us have heard of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the 5 stages of grief. Okay. Excellent research that she did. She wrote that great book, and she was a wonderful speaker and did a lot of good. The problem is that it was latched onto as something that is a formula for how people grieve. And the other part that was latched onto was that people started talking about it, the stages of grief that the living go through after somebody has died. That's where it was used most of the time. After a death, you can expect to go through these stages. It actually, her work was with dying people and the stages that people who are dying go through. And it fits pretty close with dying people. It's not, and it never was intended to be cut and dried. Okay, you're gonna, shock and disbelief. Okay, when you get over that, then you move to anger and you're mad at everybody, and then you get over your anger and you go to deny. Anyway, it was never that either. People go through these emotions back and forth. Skip something, but those emotions are emotions and stages for people who were in the dying process that had never been talked to about what they were going through. And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross could see that there was sort of a pattern there. We attach that to people who are grieving, and it doesn't fit. So just right off the bat, if you've always thought about those stages, they're good, they fit a lot of things: shock and disbelief, anger, denial, yeah. But they're not what people who are dealing with grief on the other side of the loss are doing. Okay, so there's some stuff, just general information about grief and grieving. I should say, anytime if you have a question, just stop. I think that's better for me usually, is to take your question as it comes. And then when we finish, if there are specific questions, we can do those. So don't worry about stopping me. So, but what Lawrence and I talked about is more talking to, being with a person who themselves is going through a loss, and they are grieving that loss. So just as I said, what you go through, the grief that you go through after a death is the same loss. It's the same grief that any of these losses will generate. And to a large extent, the people that you relate to are possibly grieving one of these kind of losses, and you are dealing with a person that's having trouble, having difficulty in their life. You might feel yourself say, I don't know what's going on, but and the person won't talk to you, and because maybe they can't even say, they don't know what's going on. But so let's look at our list, and the way that let me pull up my little sheet here. I have all these notes, but I mainly have them so I don't forget something that I want to say to you. So if we look at our list, well, let's just think about this together. Relationship losses. So when you see that, what does that say to you? A relationship, loss of a relationship.
It says that the relationship was important to you.
So when the relationship changes or is severed,
right,
and you are grieving, you know that something is wrong here. It's because it was important. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, but that loss could be, that relationship loss could be a friendship. We got a lot of that right now, folks. Friends or family that we thought were solid, and then something comes and there's a separation. So you're both gonna grieve that loss. And it could be that you can't talk about it because that's what got you there in the first place, was that you tried to talk about it.
Our political landscape is a real good example of that.
So I think, so Debbie said our political landscape is a good example of that. I think that's probably what a lot of people sitting here were thinking right then. And that does come to our minds. But there are relationship losses, friendships that, I'm thinking of a person that I've been friends with, close friends I worked with him in Memphis. And the last time we were there, I did something that I didn't understand what the plan was, and I messed up. At least that was his take on it. I truly did not understand. He won't talk to me. He won't even text with me. I can't talk to him about it because he will not have that conversation. So that's a huge loss to me, and I don't know what he's thinking because he won't talk to me. But a loss like that doesn't really change the world. I mean, everything goes on. It's not like he's not ever, like he died, really. He's still here, which is similar to a divorce sometimes, which is another relationship loss. Hang on, Sylvia, and then Betsy, and then Sylvia.
I was going to say sometimes.
I'll repeat it.
Okay, I'll try to. I think I am loud all the time, but maybe not. Okay. There's a situation where the person has lost their ability to speak for themselves, the person. Okay. But those around them that have never been there have come in and shut them off and will not include you in their care, so you cannot even reach that person.
Okay. this is complicated. So I was going to get to complicated. So we're here. We actually, I'll tell you what Betsy's comment is, that there's a this is a huge relationship loss where the person cannot speak for themselves, and we all can understand, relate to some situation like that. They either physically or emotionally cannot speak for themselves. The people around them who have come in are speaking for them and won't allow other people in. That is very complicated. So we'll come back to that, because that falls under a different heading.
Well, and the term that's come especially in these divisive times is called ghosting, and basically that's what your friend is doing to you. They disappeared, and you know there's no way that you can reach them, and they're unwilling to reach you.
Okay.
And that's really complicated.
So could y'all hear Sylvia, or do I need Tom? Could y'all hear what Sylvia was saying? She was agreeing that the complicated part, that when a person that you try to have a relationship with and they will not participate, and so now we have a name for that. in the age of texting and social media, is ghosting, and so that and yes, and that is also complicated. Complicated, not quite in the same way that Betsy's is. So relationship losses. How I want to help you in the communication with people who are grieving is being able to recognize what grief is and where it can come from in places, situations that we don't think about it as grief. And maybe we don't realize that we are grieving a loss that causes us to respond in life out of a place of grief. And also when we are dealing with someone who is grieving a loss. So let's say moving from relationship loss to physical loss. So there have been times in my life when I have been seriously, critically ill and chronically ill as a very young person, and there was a lot of grief attached to that. It was difficult. And you think about for yourself or a loved one a physical loss that changes everything, but nobody's dead. They're still here, but the person, your situation has changed because of this physical loss. The person who is experiencing the loss is grieving all of the losses that go along with that, whatever they are. Independence, physical well-being, having to change your life in ways that you don't know how to do, but you got to learn. Just a few of those. So here's your person with these physical losses, and you're the one over here with them, trying to be a friend, a caregiver, a spouse. You got your own stuff because of what's going on with them. You need to be able to be with them, be supportive, and help them. But you need to understand the grief piece for them that's attached that nobody realizes. Every loss has grief attached. And so we grieve, but we don't acknowledge that there's grief. So I'm going to go back to the grief that we all know that comes after a death. The sadness, overwhelming sadness, fatigue. When you are emotionally drained, you get physically drained. So sadness, lack of sleep, your appetite changes, all these things. You remember, these things after the death of somebody. Those are the same things that come up with a person who has had any of these losses. You're over here not experiencing what they're experiencing, but trying to live and keep things going well with somebody that's going through this stuff. So what you have to know is you're going through the same thing, but in your own way, because of your loss of what's happening to them. Grief, And so what I hope is that you can recognize what your person's going through, your friend, your neighbor, your community. Do you remember June 30th, 2013? This whole town was in a state of shock and started grieving immediately. That's what we call collective grief. September 11th, collective. When your community, and whether that's truly, whether it's your country, your state, your city, your church, that when there's community grief, it's a collective grief. Everybody is in it together until they're not. Until there are some people who move forward or move a different way, and then the others who are a little bit behind don't know how to do that. So, all right. Is any of this making sense? Is this anything that you even thought remotely that we might be talking about this afternoon? Is it? So it is for Sylvia. So do you have questions that you need me to move a certain way to help keep pulling this together? Yes, Jim.
It's interesting when a family pet passes away.
There we go.
We don't have any pets, but friends do. And one person is really sad. And got emotional on the phone, and got when she talked to Jane. And we know the pet. I would even talk to it, as passing by or whatever. But I'm not going to feel the same way she does about the pet, but I feel sorry for her.
Okay.
So.
Great. All right. So Jim's example of when a friend's pet dies. Pets are often family members. We have pets who are family members. Yeah, and so, we talk about our grand dog or so when the pet dies and the owner is grieving and you are trying to be there and it's a tough loss, and for many people it is a long-term loss, and it can be life-changing for people. And so trying to be with that person in the same way you would be if their spouse had died. Is this kind of, that it's the same?
Well, it's, serious. It's not the same as when her husband.
No, but I mean, the grief is the same.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to.
What do we say to her, though?
Okay, so what do you say? I'll get right there. What do you say to somebody? Okay, we're talking, the question is, what do you say when the pet dies?
Right.
What do you say when the spouse or the sibling or the nephew dies?
So I'm so sorry. Is there anything
I can do?
But when you say, is there anything I can do, they don't respond.
Okay, so
They
there.
don't know what to say.
Okay, so we're going to do that one in a minute. So, but you say, I'm so sorry. So this is exactly what I'm saying to you. When the loss is their loss and they are grieving openly, crying on the phone. Yeah, she got emotional, is what Jim said. She was crying. She's upset. So what she's feeling is the same grief. She's grieving the very same way. And so you respond to, and this goes for the grief that comes with all of these losses. I'm so sorry. Now, is there anything I can do? That's don't say that if you're not willing, because they might tell you something. Okay, Betsy.
Speaking to that, it has really been a situation in our family. We have a very eminently close family couple who started losing their pets of 14, 15, 20 years, a little dog and 3 cats. Well, when these happen, it can be a shock to you because of the amount of emotion and grief that they're showing. You're trying to be there for them and rationalize this amount of grief if you loved your pets but did not have that level of grief. So it continues. And then it goes to them ordering the headstone for the animal. And then can we use your property to place the body and the stake with the square that they've ordered with the pet's name and birth and death and all that. And we have 2 going already and 1 on the way. We have a rock up on the hill. They keep driving from Phoenix.
Okay, all right. I'm
that's
gonna
when you say
cut
no.
you off. So, okay.
That's when you say no.
That's when-
As the owner of two urines in my bedroom, and one's going to be there again, it's going in with me, not with anybody else. Over there in Skull Valley. I want all of them with me in Skull Valley. Nobody else is getting those urns.
Okay. All right, let Elaine ask her question or make a comment.
I just think whenever you have a loss, it brings your other griefs to bear.
Okay, we're going to get there. Just hang on. You're anticipating me, which is exactly where we're going to go. So Betsy's story was about a family with many pets who died, and then how they're dealing with that and trying to pull other people in. That's a whole different, then, you need a counselor of a different color than me. But you used the word rationalize with them. And so, that's a place where we're listening, we're trying to be there for people who, and it might not be a pet, it could be any of these situations that where the losses are, and they're in it way, what you read to be way over the top reaction to this. Well, guess what? Not your job. That your job is to be there for them to the extent that you can. And and then Nola's going to say, no, we're sorry, we're not doing that. Yeah, yes, Lawrence.
When I was a younger guy and I had people who were grieving around me, and my instinct was I thought it was my job to take their grief away. Make them feel better and cheer them up, you know? And let's just look at the bright side here. Yeah, your mom died, but guess how well that always works, you know? So I just want to make a distinction that, you know, our job isn't always to say something that's really going to make them feel better at all, but just to be there with them, you know? More of what I do now is I just sit with them and agree that it sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can just sit there and say, this sucks together. And sometimes that's, I don't know.
Yeah. Could y'all hear Lawrence? I hope so. Could you hear him? Okay. So, Sylvia.
Could you clarify the difference between empathy and sympathy?
Okay. We will do that. I'm writing myself a note. Okay.
Because there's a huge difference.
So, hang on. All right, I want to speak to what Lawrence said, which moves us. So we've talked about. I've spent probably more than I needed to on what grief does, how we the things that cause us grief, and the things that come in. But when we are with somebody who is grieving these many pet losses or family losses. I see a lady right now whose sister died in April, her husband died in July, and the dog died in September. And that's just more than anybody should have to deal with. And so, but to Lawrence's point exactly, you want the person to feel better. So when you say things to them, I'm so sorry, that, you know, that's a good, just pretty safe, you know. But it's when we hear people say things, yeah, you know them, you could probably, so God needed another angel, please. On to perfection. Well, that's a very Methodist, yes, yeah. But in a better place. That's a common, yes. I had somebody, I heard someone say to another person, a young person, you'll never get over this. Oh, helpful. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I'll just go dig my hole right now. Yeah. So, yes. So, thank you, Lawrence. So, what do we say? Yeah. What do we say? And we want to say something. That's part of it. You don't have to say anything. There's a, full stop right there. If you just are present, if I walk up to a person who's grieving a loss, can I walk off over here and just say, yeah. And I don't, nothing.
Cool.
So it's acknowledgement. And then it often, really, That's it. And probably a hug would come with that. You just don't have to say anything. Showing up is really the main thing. Show up and be there. Be present. We in chaplaincy call this a ministry of presence. You just are there. What you want is that your person will talk, and you just let them. You don't have to say, that's our problem. You don't have to say anything, Jim.
The worst thing you can do, I feel, bring it back on yourself. Oh, well, I lost it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, Jim is exactly right. Yeah. So, let me tell you, if you think that's bad, yeah. So, yes, so they don't want to hear that. So you might lose somebody, you might lose a friend that way. Hang on, I'm getting there. In congregational care ministry, in any kind of caring ministry, in chaplaincy, what you learn is to just be present, be with somebody. Silence is not an unwanted thing, to just sit with somebody. I'm chaplain at Good Sam on the transplant unit, and this kid was getting ready for his second kidney transplant, and we didn't say a word. I just sat next to him on the bed, and sometimes there's nothing to say. And so but Lawrence said, you want them to feel better, so you say something. It depends on the relationship to some extent, but you can't fix it. And your words are not going to fix it. And they don't want you to fix it, because guess what? They don't need it fixed. They just need somebody to be there with them. Joanne.
Is it one of the first things to say, I know just how you feel?
Yes, so Joanne just said,
Every grief is different.
yeah, so Joanne's words are one of the worst things you can say. And this is exactly what Jim was saying too. I know just how you feel. So anytime when I have a group of congregational care ministers or Stephen ministers congregational care, when we're talking about anything about meeting with people and sitting with them, if I hear the words, I know just how you feel, they're out. I mean, I tell them that right off, because I don't ever want to hear, no, you don't. No, you don't. And good for you if somebody that you say that to comes back and says, you don't have any idea how I feel, because every grief is different and the way we go through it. So you will hear me say, I have no idea what that feels like. I cannot, I've got a question back here. I cannot know in anything, and I'm so sorry. Yeah, Kay, did you have something? Oh, I thought you did. Yeah. Yeah, just wake up.
I think that's the perfect response for your friend who has lost their pet, is you have no idea because you don't have one.
I don't.
You never did have one. And so you have no idea. So of course
I'm
you're not going to say, I know just how you feel,
No.
because you've never had one.
Yeah.
It's just, my question is, when you are already grieving a loss that hasn't happened.
Okay, So this is called anticipatory grief. Okay. So I had a question. Yeah.
And to recognize the silence that you're talking about is very much like holding sacred space. It's not ghosting them. And if they're thinking that, you don't care because you're sitting there not saying something, that's not what's going on here.
Okay. So the silence that we're talking about when you just sit with someone is not ghosting them. You're there. You're there. So the ghosting can only happen if you're not with them. Something else will happen, but you are there. So being present. What was the last thing somebody said over here?
You're already grieving, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yes. Okay.
The dog is old.
The dog is old.
Savannah is 14 and
Yes.
going on 15.
Yes.
And every time I look at her, I tell God a few more days because she's healthy and strong.
Yeah.
And she may be the last one for a long time.
Yeah. And this happens a lot with humans too, because and we in this congregation, I bet every person sitting here, I can look at most of you and know when you have been through some sort of anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief is not a bad thing. It is the grief that we do because we see what is probably what the expectation is ahead. In fact, anticipatory grief can change how things go after the actual death because of the time that you have. Doesn't always work that way, but what to say, here's another, isn't it funny that that's what we go to is, what do I say? What do I say? And what we are saying here is you don't have to say, you just send a card. If you're a texting and they text, you know what I do? I send people hearts and praying hands. They know what I mean. And then if they need to talk to me, they'll call me, or I will do it again, and then I will get a response. But somebody said there was dadgummit. I didn't write. I know you asked your question, Sylvia, about empathy and sympathy. And there was something about anticipatory grief. I'll get it. But does everybody understand anticipatory grief? Okay, so we've brought up complicated grief. Actually, that's a whole different, there's a different, anyway, so we could do, I'll just read y'all off a list. So grief, here's the other part about thinking about grief, and you think you know what you're talking about, and we have anticipatory, we have abbreviated, we have delayed, we have inhibited, we have cumulative, we have collective. So there are all of these ways that grief comes into our lives, and we're trying to deal with people who are in these different places of grief and know how to help them, to be there for them and not make it worse.
Well, whether it's fortunate or not, I have a hard time holding emotions. So if you know you're going to go there and just crack up, should you go anyway? I mean, is it going to help or hinder?
Okay, good. Really nice, Jim. Okay, so Jim whether it's good thing or bad thing, I think it's a good thing. Jim he's not good at controlling his emotion. Neither am I. I cried all the way through that last hymn. I do it every time we sing it. I cannot even I can't sing anyway, but I can't even mouth the words on the refrain. Here I am. So just a drop of a hat. I'm crying. So if you are that kind of person, should you go and present yourself to your friend, and if you know that's going to happen? I say yes, because it's authentic. You're showing up is the important piece. And if you just sit and cry with them, I mean, Debbie and I could have just gone from what we were doing to you. If you don't want to cry with somebody and you're a crier, then don't go. But if you want to be with them and be supportive, then yes, that allows them. And we need to talk about tears. Okay, Betsy.
Patty knows that I'm like that too.
Yeah.
But it's genuine. Let's don't discount ourselves at all. And I know you have, Jim. For that is a real feeling. And I will go from here to my sister-in-law, who's just this week been put into a care home. And her husband died. A few months later, she has a stroke. And then a few months later, she falls and breaks her hip. And now there may be another break. And now she's lost her husband, is out of her home, now out of the rehab, and is now in a care home. She has lost everything. And I know every time I go in there, sometimes I can't even tell the person at the door who I'm there for. Because if I try to say it, I'll break out.
You'll start. Okay.
And I just show up and I'll go and sit and hold her hand. And sometimes you sit there and you're pouring, and they are, and then pretty soon you're consoling each other and laughing because you understand the emotion of the event.
So Betsy, yes, you two, I think Betsy wins actually, but no, we know each other well enough that I can tease her. But yeah, so her example is her sister-in-law whose husband died, and then she had a stroke, and now she's broken her hip. So one after another. So this is what we would call cumulative grief for her, and so one is plenty. Any of her Tom's death, and then her fall, just a fall. But a stroke and a fall. So this is cumulative, and that can be overwhelming for the person. And so you just go. Here we are again. We show up. Elaine brought up that a grief that happens right here often brings up something from back here. This is a lot of what I deal with every day. So I do one-on-one grief counseling. I'm a certified grief counselor. That's mostly what I do here in this church is one-on-one grief counseling. And so I know when someone comes because somebody died, and this person thinks, I ought to be doing better. And that's probably because the world around them wants them to move on and get over it. It's been, golly, it's been 2 whole months. You still crying about that? So, but they come, probably a while, and they just can't get back where they think they should be. And so we talk. And what happens is this comes up, and this comes up, and this are childhood things that turns out are pretty major, but they weren't allowed to grieve. So the grief never was resolved. And so it just accumulates and becomes cumulative. And then the dog died. And that's it, and they can't, yeah. So I see your hand over here. So cumulative grief. So when you're with your person, trying to know what to say, you might not, even, I don't care how well you know them, you might not know this stuff. And so you don't know what back here that never got dealt with that shows up in this grief and compounds it. It makes this more because they don't even know that that's part of it. If you don't do the work, the grief work, and deal with the loss, then it comes back to bite you. Many people grew up in houses where they weren't allowed to show emotion. You can't, if you're gonna do that, you go somewhere else until you can get yourself pulled together, and then you can come back and be with us. So, or the dog, their puppy dies. Okay, we'll get you a new one. We'll fix that. We'll fix that. So those are the kind, that stuff, yeah. So this is hard, folks. This is why I have a job. I mean, sadly, we need help, and here you are wanting to know how to help people that you care about, and I hope we have at least scratched the surface, because I have something that I have to answer somewhere, but
I was just going to say, and I think this is important. Most or all of us are blessed with some level of security in our faith. We're Christians. We have faith of many different levels, but the person that you are there for, whether you know them or you've known them forever, may not have any or a low level of faith. So you can't just, in my opinion, you can't go there and approach them from a biblical or Christian level unless you kind of have a sense of where they are.
okay. So what Betsy is saying is that the assumption is that everybody here has a faith, a belief system that supports them in difficult situations. Your person that you're dealing with might not. So what Betsy is saying is not your job to pull faith into it unless, so this is what I've dealt with in nursing, chaplaincy, hospice, hospital, all of it. Not my job to bring them to anything. My job is to meet them where they are. And I think that's I appreciate your bringing that up, Betsy, because there's another piece to being with them is take yourself out of it enough to, no matter how well you know them, to not make the assumption that you know exactly what's happening with them, because that's gonna come back to bite you. But you that's why you let them talk to you if they can talk, or you don't say anything, because you can't know where they are unless they tell you. And so the piece of meeting them where they are is by just showing up, and then let them let you know what you can do beyond that, if anything. But that's part of being with somebody, is meeting them where they are, not trying to help them, not trying to fix it. You don't have to do anything. You just show up. That's probably the real message for today, is to show up. We have used our hour here. Whoever asked about sympathy and empathy, was that you, Sylvia? Okay.
And it fits perfectly with what you're saying, because this is a little book that was given to me by a long, I've known this woman for 55 years, and she is totally unchurched if you start talking scripture to her, but it's called Healing After Loss, Meditations for Working Through Grief of All Kinds.
Let me see it.
I honor and trust the process of grief and healing, knowing that in time, a new day will come. It is so incredible.
So this is a book, if you've been in my grief group, you have a big, large copy of this.
So you wanted me to have a little copy.
Yeah, so helping people, meeting them where they are, and yes, you're not there to do anything. You're just be.
And so the other thing with you is, not for myself, but I've seen other people say, "Go away, I don't want your sympathy." And so to understand that that's as much about where they are,
right,
as what you're saying, and that's why, which is so hard for me, silence is golden.
Yes. So, go away, I don't want your sympathy. And if that's what they say, then I think probably in my position, my response would be, I'm here if you need me, and leave it open. But sympathy, yes, is feeling for someone because you've had a similar experience, and that's where our wanting to help, because I've done this. I know I can help you. Empathy is a whole different animal, and empathy is putting yourself in someone else's place, even if you don't know what that place is. So that's an odd. Empathy is we could do a whole another thing on empathy. So I will say to you, I am very empathetic.
Oh yeah.
I am very empathetic. I am not a true empath. And the difference for me is I can hear your stuff all day. I can be with you and do what we need to do, but I don't take it on. I can't. If I took on your stuff, I'd be in the columbarium already. You can't. That's part of knowing who you are in helping someone else, is that you need to know how this works for you so that you can truly help someone else. If I honestly, and people ask me that a lot, how do you do this? When they sit with me, just one, and I say, and I explain that to them. If I took on your stuff, and that's what a lot of people do when they hear Even watching the TV, what terrible, you know. If you take it on yourself, you can't be what that person needs. Recognize that, and then, you know, if you need to, we can talk, and I can help you figure out individually if you've got something where you need to help, feel like you need to be with somebody, and it's difficult.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have a neighbor who lost her husband, and I didn't really know her husband at all. Okay, hi, how you doing? And I've gone over and visited Terry, and I've sent her a card, and so my question is, how many times do you reach out and, you know, do you want me to come visit? Can I bring you a meal? How many times when it's somebody you don't really know well?
Okay, so could y'all hear? Are we all right, everybody? So how many times? I trust my intuition on that, so it's a little tricky question for me. But if you don't know the person well, and you've reached out and you've offered, so here's where my intuition piece would come in. If that's in my head, all right, maybe one more time. Then I do it one more time.
I would also say, like, if I had an intuition about that or something, I might just go hang out with them and not make it about that. You know what I mean? But just make it a point.
Just make it, yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah.
I baked too many of these cookies and maybe like.
Oh, that sounds like my neighbor.
Yeah. So trust, this is where I trust my gut. If my gut says so, yeah. I learned that one a long time ago. And my gut is what I think is the Holy Spirit. So I'll just tell you that. If I hear that, Patti, you know, you need to call. You need to, pay attention. Then, because I regret it. If I have regrets, it's because I didn't pay attention when that Holy Spirit, yeah. All right, we probably have to stop, y'all, because we're.
Thank you so much for all your hard-won wisdom and experience.
I hope y'all can. I'll just sit here for a bit and we can talk, or you can call me. You know how to get hold of me. I turn my mic off, so.